One of the premises of this training course is to guide faculty and staff members at Appalachian State University on how to conduct a merit-based recruitment and selection plan. The one tool that they are going to learn and use the most for every search they conduct on campus will be the applicant screening matrix. However, I do feel like we need to do a little bit of a background as to why we use this matrix and how it is developed. It is first developed in the early stages of the recruitment process, which is the development of the position description. The position description is important because it describes the position within our organization, and they're created and evaluated based on the business need of the department. It defines the duties and responsibilities of the position, the required education and training, knowledge, skills and abilities, and the experience needed to do the position. This information drives the information of the posting, which is viewable to the applicants. It relays position requirements to applicants in a clear and concise manner, and it communicates expectations to employees. All the while, it ensures legal compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act and the Fair Labor Act by posting it in the advertisement. It plays an integral part in the performance plan and the evaluation of our hired employees. And finally, having an accurate job description that you have discussed and reviewed with your employee can be the difference between winning or losing and paying unemployment claims. The job description or the position description is the essential portion of the entire search process. This next slide shows the hierarchy of tasks involved with a search. As you can see from top down, top being the most time spent in a search revolves around the position description. If it is written accurately and effectively, everything else falls into place, be it the posting information, creating the matrix that we were going to go over, screening, interviewing, reference checking, and finally the hiring proposal, all which, if all actions are followed in sequence and accordingly, you will end up with hiring the most qualified candidate. Here's another outline of how this cycle is so important. It all starts with a position description, which drives the posting. The posting attracts your talented pool that you wish to hire from. And it helps you, the position description helps you develop and create the matrix and go through the selection process. And using the required knowledge, skills, and abilities as outlined in the position description, you can then develop that matrix. The matrix also helps with the hiring proposal and helps you justify why you'd like to choose the candidate for hire, and if everything is filled out appropriately, it's a no-brainer based on the matrix if it's derived from the position description. And finally, the performance management. It all ties into the position description with your key essential duties, knowledge, skills, and abilities required to perform the job successfully. All comes out in the performance management. So just wanted to showcase the importance of the entire cycle and how it all starts from the position description and how that flows into creating a matrix. As you all will be chairing a search at some point or another on campus, it's important to understand the responsibilities of a search chair. First and foremost, they are responsible for abiding to the Equal Employment Opportunity Law and are the facilitator of a merit-based recruitment and selection plan. They are the leader for the search committee and are there to abide by all the laws. They should choose 3 members recommended to be on the search committee, and we advise that individuals with different backgrounds, perspectives, and expertise be on the committee to effectively evaluate candidates' qualifications. Members with a conflict of interest should recuse themselves from the committee, and a new member will be appointed by the search chair. This is important to facilitate an objective and fair search, which is, again, the premise of a merit-based recruitment plan. Secondly, you will equip your committee with the right tools. As chair, you need to discuss the necessary qualifications needed to successfully perform the job, and this is derived from the posting. Construct a quality and objective matrix, which we will go over here shortly, and follow a fair and consistent selection process. Finally, as a chair, you are responsible for keeping the search process confidential. This too is in line with conducting a fair and equitable search. When you get to screening applications and creating the matrix, it's advised that all committee members read each application thoroughly and evaluate qualifications based on the criteria. The matrix is a tool used to determine who is among the most qualified and who to interview. It helps to evaluate applicants objectively. You can compare multiple qualified applicants within one tool, and the selection criteria must be universally applied without bias against any applicant. It provides support for the applicants chosen for interview, and there's no gray area. If the search is conducted based on a well-developed matrix, you can be rest assured that you are conducting a fair and equitable search based on objective and measurable criteria. An effective matrix needs to be job-related, where it clearly defines essential functions, knowledge, skills, and abilities, and preferred qualifications. Consistent standards that applicants can be assessed against, specific, measurable, quantifiable criteria, and a minimum of 4 criteria is recommended to fully evaluate if the candidate meets the qualifications for the position. This is a sample matrix that the Office of Human Resources will send out to the search committees and the online communities preparing for a search. It outlines here the criteria that the search committee will determine as far as how to score each applicant. And this is again a sample, but you can see here from 0 to 4 is how you would rank your candidates down here for each component that you develop based on the posting. So for example, this position is for floor maintenance mechanic on campus. And these are some sample criteria that are required that require the knowledge, skills, and abilities for an applicant to successfully perform the job. So as the committee is going through the applications and screening, these are the criteria that they are ranking each candidate by. Once you determine what that is, and it's fair and easily assessed per applicant, you would then tally the scores here in these columns. This would give you a screening total. Now we all know as we've gone through a search that on paper individuals may look a lot better than they do or they conduct in an interview. So you take the screening total here, which will outline your top candidates, your candidates that are among the most qualified based on the criteria set by the search committee. You will take those individuals, those totals. Right here we've got about three applicants. We've got Spider-Man, Superman, and Wonder Woman, who are pretty close. We also have the Wolverine coming in at a 7, so we might as well go ahead and interview the Wolverine as well. During the interview phase, I'm going to jump to the next slide, which will show you another matrix that you could use. This is a sample interview matrix, and again, HR advises that search committees on campus use behavioral-based questions or situation-specific questions where it really gets the interviewee talking. Give me an example of a time when XYZ, or explain your leadership philosophy. These are questions that get the interviewee to really open up and use their past behavior and past experiences as a predictor of future behavior. So we would go through this interview matrix, and you can see each question, which is developed by the search chair and the search committee based on the requirements of the job. You would go through and take consistent notes based on the applicant's response, and then give each question a rating. At the bottom of this matrix will be a total score. This total score will then be applied here under the green column for total rating in the interview phase. Once you have that, then you can clearly see here in the red column called the overall applicant total score, your top candidates and who is among the most qualified. We can see here that Wonder Woman scored a 40, which supersedes all the other candidates. She is clearly the candidate that is most qualified for this position and should be considered as a recommended for hire candidate. As you can see, the matrix is, if developed and created in an objective and merit-based manner, really does make the search chair and the search committee makes their job a lot easier in determining who to bring in for an interview, who to take to the next interview. And again, if Wonder Woman had a score of a 30, you could possibly bring in Wonder Woman and Superman for a second interview for further evaluation. Next, we'll get into the next phase of the search, which is also conducting reference checks. Reference checks are an additional or supplemental tool if there are two candidates that are neck and neck. It could come down to the reference checks to see who should be recommended for hire. Finally, when concluding your search, the search chair tallies up the totals on the matrix. The committee votes on the candidate to recommend for hire. The chair conducts the reference checks. If there's no issues there, they recommend that candidate for hire. Easy peasy Japanesey. We also want to reiterate to all supervisors or hiring managers that they have a big responsibility on campus. Hiring managers, supervisors, or designated individuals charged with making hiring decisions for the university have the responsibility of basing hiring decisions on the university's merit-based recruitment plan. Consistently use principles of fairness and integrity in the recruitment and selection process. If these guidelines are followed by each committee and each search chair on campus, we can move toward the principle of hiring individuals for this campus based on merit.